Welcome back to the Rock Room and to another episode of Rock Your Divorce. I'm your host, Stephen Valente. Today's episode, we're going to focus on those key negative feelings that men experience not only through the divorce process, but well into after their divorce. If you're like me, then you have feelings of self-doubt, worry, guilt, depression. You may suffer from shame or embarrassment of the situation. You may not feel worthy, or you may struggle with self-esteem and self-doubt. If that's you and you're feeling those feelings, then you are absolutely in the right place. Now, we're going to tackle each of those feelings in subsequent episodes, and I'm going to give you practical tips and things that you can do each and every day to get through those feelings. But today, we're going to talk about you and how you are absolutely and totally a rock star. So if those are things that you want to listen to, then tune in, turn the volume up, and let's hit the stage. First, let's revisit what divorce does to a man. The statistics show that 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by women. And those men will report that even though that they knew that their marriages were having issues, that they themselves or their spouse had communicated that they were unhappy or that things weren't going right, when served with this divorce, when facing the divorce, those same men said that they were blindsided by this. They said they had no clue. They didn't see it coming. That divorce, even though things were bad, even though they weren't communicating, they weren't intimate, they were going through all of these problems, whether it was with children or finances or family or jobs, they felt like divorce wasn't the option and it was just something that they could work through. Men receive self-worth and self-esteem by being providers, by being protectors, by being that husband, that father, right? That friend. That's where we as men gain our self-worth. We grow our self-esteem by having those. And once that's threatened or once that's taken away, we begin to feel some of those feelings that I mentioned earlier, right? We have fears, we have doubt, we have a lot of anxiety, right? We feel guilt or depression. Some of us may feel shame or embarrassment, even if we may or may not have been the reason for the divorce. And we really try to find our self-worth and our worthiness in being that husband and that father. But one of the things that I want to make sure that you walk away today with is that your self-worth and your self-esteem should not be predicated on you being a husband or a father, right? Your self-worth and your self-esteem comes from you being the best man that you can be, the man that God has intended you to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk in subsequent episodes about the things that you can do in those 7 key points of your life, the 7 key areas of your life where you can strive each and every day to be that rock star. So I encourage you, do not bottle up the negativity. Do not believe all of those negative doubts that are swirling around in your head, right? All of those negative influences that are on the outside and on the inside, they do not make up your self-worth. They do not make up your self-esteem, right? And I believe that each of us truly is a rock star. And I'm going to share a little story with you, and hopefully it'll make sense to you. So why do I call you a rock star? Why do I call myself a rock star? Why do I call the people that I love and that I appreciate a rock star? And it's because I believe that all of us are rock stars. Now, I was actually seeing a woman for a little bit, and I'll share the story with you. She kind of pulled me aside one time and said, I really don't like the way that you use the term rock star when you talk about your kids or you talk about people. She says, it seems kind of childish, and it seems, it's something that I never want you to call me. And I kind of laughed on the inside, and I thought, well, you don't have to worry about that. But why do I call people rock star? Why do I do that? And it's because I really truly believe that we have all the characteristics of what you and I think rock stars are. We all have that on the inside as men. And what I'm going to go through are about 10 specific characteristics that I want you to think about when you compare yourself to a rock star. Because the idea and the concept of you becoming the best man that you can be through this process, so that when you emerge on the other side, you will absolutely be the best man that you can be, that you can be that for yourself, you can be that for your children, you can be that in your profession, and ultimately, if you choose to have another relationship, another long-term relationship, you will be the best man possible for that individual. So let's talk a little bit about what I say are the 10 characteristics of you being a rock star. Okay, so before we start talking about those 10 key characteristics of a rock star and why I think you're a rock star, I also want to say that I know that you may not feel this way now. I know that you're going through a lot right now. There's a heavy, heavy weight on you, whether it's the feelings that you're feeling through what's going on with your children, or the back and forth with your attorney, or the back and forth with your soon-to-be former spouse or your former spouse. I just want to make sure that you understand that this is a total and complete process. So you may not be feeling all of these characteristics right now. But what I'm also here to tell you is that you absolutely have these characteristics in you as a man. And next to your faith, okay, next to your faith is first and foremost, and we're going to talk about spirituality and God and connecting and reconnecting with your faith and driving that in subsequent episodes. But next to your faith, which is the solid foundation of where you start, your mental state, right? The whole mental process in this is the second most important thing that you can focus on, okay? So like I said, we're going to have subsequent episodes related to all those kinds of feelings and just a bunch of things that you could be doing each and every day to ensure that you're doing your absolute very best to become the man that God has intended you to be and navigate this divorce process in a healthy way. But let me give you, of the 10, let me give you 5 main characteristics why I think you are a rock star. So the first one is you're a leader and you're an influencer, okay? And I don't care if this is in your home. I don't care if this is, let's say, at work or even in your community, right? When you think about a rock star, you think about how they lead, right? They lead their bands, they have fans, they're true charismatic leaders on the stage or in the studio or when you meet them. So when I look at you, just like I had to look at myself and say, you know what? You are a leader and you have that charisma. You may not be one of those that stands out and wants to be in the spotlight of a crowd, right? You might be a little bit more reserved as a father or as a friend, or when you're in a crowd of people, you may be one to take a step back and not be one that's out there. But regardless of what your personality type is, you are absolutely a leader and an influencer. And what you do and how you do it has an impact not only on you and not only on the process of divorce and what happens after, but it has a ripple effect into all different aspects of your life. So when you compare yourself to a rock star and you say, you know what, I absolutely am a leader. I absolutely am an influencer. And I can absolutely make an impact in the world that I touch each and every day. The second main characteristic that I want to share with you today, why I think you're a rock star, is that you leave a legacy. And when you compare what a rock star does with a legacy and what we do as non-rock stars, think about the legacy as your catalog of music, right? The albums that you put out, the tours that you go on, the shows that you perform, everything that you do each and every day builds your legacy, not only with your children, most importantly with your children, but with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers, in your community, right? And we're going to have an entire episode that is dedicated to what it means to leave a legacy as a man, what it means to do. And there are going to be some practical things that you can do throughout not only the divorce process itself, but afterwards, where you can solidify your legacy. And that is something that you as a man need to define. They always say, define yourself before somebody else does. This is in total and complete control of what you can do in your life. And that's really to leave a legacy for your children, right? And that kind of leads into the third characteristic that rock stars have, that I believe you have too, and that's you have some really devoted followers. As I said before, we're going to have some subsequent episodes coming up, and there's one that I call Fan Club versus Critics. And this is really about the folks that support you, that love you, that care about you, that want to see what's very best for you and your family, and how that compares to the ones out there that don't. And without getting into the specifics of the episode, and because it's there's a lot of things that I think you'll take away from my learnings of that, I think it's very important for you to know that there are going to be a lot of folks out there that are not going to be your fans throughout the divorce process and after. But most importantly than anything, you have this group of followers, you have these fan clubs that, just like a rock star does, that they want to see you succeed. They want to see you happy. They want to see you thrive afterwards, right? And live your life the very best that you can. So again, comparing you and me to a rock star, we have some devoted followers out there, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do each and every day to ensure that we're the best man possible for those followers. Another characteristic that rock stars have, or rock bands have, that I believe that you have inside you, really deals with sacrifice and redemption, right? The old adage is, we all love a good redemption story. And it's really not about if you were at fault for your divorce, if you made some wrong decisions, you did the wrong thing, you broke your family apart by your behaviors or anything else, or you're on the other side where, it wasn't your fault. You didn't necessarily do anything, quote unquote, wrong to cause the divorce. But there is an opportunity once you go through this process, and even during the process too, that there is an opportunity for redemption, okay? And this is not the redemption that when we talk about spirituality and your faith and your belief in God and in your spiritual practices. This is really the redemption kind of that phoenix rising, right? This phoenix rising and becoming the best you that you can be throughout this process. As I've said before, men do not navigate the divorce process typically in a healthy way, right? We run into a lot of different men where we see addictions. We see them get themselves in trouble with the law. We see them lose their jobs, lose their children, right? Some of them even become homeless and unfortunately commit suicide. The suicide rates for men going through divorce and after divorce are absolutely and totally astonishing. So that's a discussion for a later date. But the idea of redemption, the idea of taking what you're going through today and ultimately utilizing that, harnessing that energy, that pain, that suffering, that sacrifice, and turning it around into something that you are absolutely, totally proud of, right? When you look in the mirror and you see yourself as a man and you see yourself, what you've been put through and what you have an opportunity to control and become, not only during the process, but definitely afterwards, you have complete and total control of that redemption story. So just like rock stars that fall from grace, they have addiction issues, they have, personal issues. They may get kicked out of their bands. They may break up as a band and then reform and take on the world. I truly believe that you have a redemption story that is still yet to be told. And I'm looking forward to hearing that story. The number 5, the top 5 of the 10, and we'll talk about the 10 a little bit later on. But the number 5 is that what is your message? What is your revolutionary message that you're going to utilize, you're going to harness, and then take away from this experience, right? Some of the discussions that are going on right now is, what is your passion? What is your calling, right? As men, a lot of times we think that's our profession is our passion, or our profession is what defines who we are, what we're about, what we're worthy of, how the world sees us, right? And there's been a movement as of late, and you've probably seen this, that we really start looking at, what are you good at that you can make money doing? It may not necessarily be what your passion is. So if your passion is music, right? Or in this case, my passion is taking the knowledge that I brought and to you all and trying to help men navigate that divorce process in a healthy way. Become the best men possible after this divorce process and as you're thriving later on. And what are you going to give back to your children, your family, your community, right? Your world. And that's something that I think when you take a look at rock stars, they have a message. Now, some of their messages come through music, right? So they may be writing about their messages, but a lot of them have causes. The band Coldplay is really big into the environment, right? So they do things associated with touring that really focuses on environmental issues and making sure that they're doing their part and their fans are doing their part to help the world when it comes to their environment and their environmental issues. You have bands like Metallica that's big into this feeding the homeless and doing things to help the communities that they play in, right? And there's countless you can Google, and there's countless rock stars and rock bands that are out there, and they have certain causes. You too, right? They're big in humanitarianism and making sure that equal rights for people around the world. So I encourage you to tap into that rock star in you and take a look at what is the message? What is your calling? What has God placed you on this earth to do? It is not to work in, the automotive industry, or for me to sell medical devices. That's an amazing opportunity that I have, and I really, really love my job. And at the same time, it's not my passion. It's not how I feel like I'm going to give back to my community and to the greater world, right? So when you start comparing yourself to the rock stars out there, just know you absolutely have a message. You absolutely have a calling. And really it's about tapping into your heart throughout this process and finding out what can you do afterwards that's going to make a difference in the world. So let's do a quick recap. Okay, so no matter how you're feeling right now, just remember, next to your spiritual health, your mental health is the most important thing that you can be focusing on during this divorce process. And I've said before, I will have subsequent episodes with tip after trick after practical things that you can do across many different areas of your mental health that will help you not only navigate this divorce process in a healthy way, but come out again and thrive in the end. The second piece that I want you to remember is that your self-esteem and your self-worth is not based on your marriage or your profession, okay? Men can and do lose both of those during this whole entire process. The most important thing that you can do is make the right decisions, do the right thing, and become the best man that you know how to be throughout this entire process. And I'm going to remind you that you are a rock star. Okay, so no matter how you're feeling right now, or if you're down, or if you're depressed, or you're feeling your self-worth and your self-esteem are the lowest maybe that it's ever been, which does happen, I want you to always remind yourself that you are a rock star. You are a leader and an influencer in your life, at home, at work, and in your community. You have a legacy to leave, not only your children, but to those friends and family and coworkers and community around you that are all cheering for you. They're fans. You have followers, right? You have fan clubs. You have all of these wonderful people in your life that want to see you succeed. They want to see you thrive. They want to see you happy and whole. And they want you to feel like the love that they have for you is not only happening during this process, but it will carry you well into the next stages of your life. I want you to also remember that you have control of your own redemption story, right? Like that phoenix that's rising from the ashes, you can look yourself in the mirror as a man and become everything that you feel that God has made you to be. The calling on your life, what's ever in your heart, all aspects of your life, you have the opportunity right now and from time on to define yourself and not let anybody define you. You have an ability to become the man that you know that you can be deep down. And lastly, you have a message to share with this world. You have gifts that you have been given to share with this world. It is important for you to search yourself, to tap into those, and to utilize those not only for your benefit and the benefit of your children or your profession or whatever, but you need to move beyond just doing a job. And you need to find something that drives your passion, that you believe in, and it's the gift that you can give back to the world that's around you. So, with all of that being said, if you liked today's episode and you felt like it struck a chord with you or brought you some harmony in your life, I'm asking you to go to www.rockyourdivorce.com. If it's something that I can be helpful with you in, sign up for a free 30-minute call with me. I can help you through this divorce process. I want you to like and subscribe to the Rock Your Divorce podcast. And more importantly than anything, if you feel like there are other folks out there, other men out there that need to visit this rock room and hear this message for themselves, please forward it to them so that they can find their way here. And then maybe they'll learn something along the way, and it'll help them navigate this process. So with all that being said, I guess it's time to sign off from today's episode, and I'll see you with another edition of the Rock Your Divorce podcast in the Rock Room. See you next time.